Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Hello again and welcome to Fusion Mobile e-learning class. As always, my name is Abdul and here we are talking civic education. In this video, we're going to be looking at human trafficking. Of course, we'll be looking at the meaning of human trafficking. We'll be looking at the causes of human trafficking, consequences of human trafficking. We'll be looking at the efforts against human trafficking. We'll be looking at it both from the government and individual level, and then we'll be looking at ways to prevent human trafficking. Now, what is human trafficking, or what is trafficking rather? Let's start with the word trafficking. Of course, trafficking is the trading in something that is illegal and unlawful to sell. Basically, when we're talking about trafficking, we're talking about the trading in something that is illegal or unlawful to sell. Now, trafficking mainly involves drugs, stolen goods, and anything that is traded illegally against the law. Human trafficking is one of the contemporary social menace and problems in our society today. It is a serious crime against humanity which has gained popularity and patronage among countries of the world in recent times for its lucrative nature, simply because people who involve in human trafficking think or feel that, okay, this is a quick way to get money, forgetting the fact that they are subjecting these people to untold hardship, forgetting the fact that these victims are actually human beings and should not be subjected to that kind of situation. But people who involve themselves with human trafficking, people who are into human trafficking, they are basically heartless people who do not have fear of God in their heart, because who would trade another human being just for monetary gains? Who would sell another human being? And sometimes the people that they are selling are just little children, sometimes women who they sell into prostitution, sometimes men who they sell into hard labor. So human trafficking is a very, very, very bad menace that is affecting us contemporarily in the world right now. Now, that is basically what human trafficking is about. Let us look at the causes of human trafficking. What are the reasons why people engage in human trafficking? Now, the following are some of the causes of human trafficking. Number one, we have abject poverty. Number two, we have greed. Number three, we have low self-esteem. Number four, we have corruption. Number five, we have political, social, and economic instability. Number six, we have gender, racial discrimination. Number seven, we have armed conflict or war. Number eight, we have lack of access to education and information. Number nine, we have rise in demand for cheap labor in foreign countries. And then number 10, we have sophisticated materials. All these mentioned are some of the causes. 10 that I've mentioned are some of the causes of human trafficking in the world. These are reasons why people engage in human trafficking, either because of abject poverty, low self-esteem, or simply because there's cheap demand for labor in other foreign countries, where you see people picking, especially people who are sold into prostitution, young ladies, kids who are sold into prostitution. You pick them from Nigeria, you take them to another country, and you sell them into prostitution. They prostitute themselves just to make money for you. People who are caught engaged in human trafficking sometimes are sentenced to death, sometimes are sent to prison for a very, very long time, because it's a very bad thing to do. Now, we've seen the meaning, we've seen the causes. Now, what are the consequences of human trafficking in the society on us? Some of the consequences of human trafficking in society is, number one, we have death. Number two, we have unwanted pregnancy in the case of women who are sold into prostitution. Number three, we have stigmatization. Number four, physical and sexual abuse. Number five, psychological trauma. Number six, health risk. Number seven, forced abortion. Number eight, mental problems. Number nine, alcohol and drug addiction. And then number 10, prosecution and deportation. All these are some of the consequences of human trafficking. If you're involved in human trafficking or you're a victim of human trafficking, it's likely that one of these consequences you're going to experience. So basically, these are the consequences of human trafficking. Now let's just look at the efforts against human trafficking, both at government and at individual level. But before I do that, a question is going to pop up on your screen right now. I hope you're going to answer that without any difficulty. Welcome back from that question. Now, before the question popped up, though I actually hope you answered it correctly. Now, before the question popped up, we were talking about the consequences of human trafficking. Now, let's continue from where we stopped. Now, we are going to look at efforts against human trafficking, both at government and at individual level. Now, if you're talking about at government level, that's the efforts or rules to stop human trafficking. Number one, we can look at enactment and enforcement of laws on human trafficking. Number two, establishment of victims of trafficking trust fund. Number three, establishment of government agency on human trafficking, known as National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons and Other Related Matters, that is NABTEB, NABTEB. National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons and Other Related Matters, NABTEB. Now, NABTEB, that's National Agency of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, is responsible to addressing the scourge of human trafficking and its attendant human rights abuses. The Nigerian government on 20th of August 2003 established an agency called National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons and Other Related Matters. This agency is the creation of Trafficking in Persons Prohibition Law Enforcement and Administration Act of 2003. Now I'm just giving you a little bit of history and the creation of the NABTEB. The agency is the country's focal point in the fight against trafficking in persons and its associated social problems. Now, some of the functions of NABTEB include: number one, to coordinate all laws on trafficking in persons and related offenses. Number two, to adopt measures to increase the effectiveness of eradication of trafficking in person. Number three, to enhance effectiveness of law enforcement agents to suppress traffic in person. Number four, to establish proper communication channels, conduct research, and work in improving international cooperation in the suppression of trafficking in persons by land, sea, and air. And number five, to reinforce and supplement measures in bilateral and multilateral treaties and conventions on traffic in person. All these are some of the functions of NABTEB. All these are some of the functions of NABTEB. Now, we have been talking about efforts against human trafficking, but we'll be talking about them at the government level. Now, let's talk about it at the individual level. Now, at the individual level, we have organizations also that help regulate all this issue. Especially one of the organizations is the Women Trafficking and Child Labor Eradication Foundation, that is the WOTCLEF, Women Trafficking and Child Labor Eradication Foundation. Now, in an earlier effort, that's before the establishment of NABTEB by the government, some individuals in Nigeria started to fight and eradicate human trafficking in Nigeria. The wife of the then Vice President, Chief Mrs. Amina Tite Atiku Abubakar, in 1999 founded and established the organization. Now, Women Trafficking and Child Labor Eradication Foundation is a frontline non-governmental organization with the avowed responsibilities of building community awareness and action against abuse of the rights of women and children. Now, some of the objectives of WOTCLEF, that is Women Trafficking and Child Labor Eradication Foundation, include: number one, to produce and publish materials that enhance local, regional, and global awareness about the problem. Number two, to rescue, rehabilitate, and reintegrate victims with their communities in accordance with their best interest. Number three, to network and collaborate with concerned parties worldwide towards the eradication of trafficking, child labor, and violent abuses of women and children. Number 4, to promise the work of the Wharncliffe Rehabilitation Center in Abuja, Nigeria, by collaborating with worldwide affiliations. And then number 5, to establish special school program to educate and promote awareness of human trafficking, child labor, and HIV/AIDS. All these are some of the objectives of WOTCLEF. Now, this is how you can make effort against human trafficking individually. I just picked one organization. Now let us move to our next, or should I say our last item here, which is ways to prevent human trafficking. Of course, there are a lot of ways to prevent human trafficking, and these are the ways that we will be looking at. Number 1, public enlightenment. Of course, we need to enlighten the public constantly about human trafficking. We need to enlighten them about the consequences. We need to enlighten them about the causes. We need to enlighten them about the precautions that we can take. We need to enlighten them about the preventive measures. Public enlightenment is important any day, anytime. Number 2, education. Of course, we should educate people about human trafficking. Number 3, availability of job opportunities. Why do people engage in human trafficking? Abject poverty. There's no work to do. There's nothing they could do to sustain themselves or their families, so they fall victims, or they are tempted to even involve themselves or engage in human trafficking. Number 4, family empowerment. Of course, when you empower the family, you're empowering the nation. Number 5, effective implementation of the laws on human trafficking. Laws that are there on, or laws that are put, or laws that are made for human trafficking to curtail this trafficking. Laws that are meant to be sanctions for culprits caught involving themselves in this practice. These laws should be effectively implemented. When these laws are implemented, I bet you're going to have way less human traffickers in the nation and in the world generally. Number 6, inclusion in school curriculum. Of course, you should include human trafficking as a subject in school curriculum so that students will start knowing about this from a very tender age. Number 7, which is basically the last one I'm going to take, global connection and cooperation. Human trafficking is a global social issue or problem. Therefore, there is need for global connection, cooperation, and mutual understanding in fighting against evil menace. When we have global connection and understanding, we can collectively address the issue with ease. When you have the ears of a lot of people who are willing to understand and actually look at your problem and say, you know what, I think we can help you solve this. This is my problem. You know what, I think I want you to help me solve this problem. That way, we have gone halfway through solving the problem itself, because we get to share and we get to have different notions, different ideas from around the world. Basically, that's what we have for you on this video as regards to human trafficking. Remember, we talked about the meaning of human trafficking, we talked about the causes of human trafficking, we talked about the consequences of human trafficking, and then we talked about the effort against human trafficking, and then finally we talked about ways to prevent human trafficking. As always, my name is Abubakar Abdul, but before I go, some questions are going to pop up on your screen right now, and I'm confident you're going to answer them correctly. That's basically what we have. Bye bye, and hope the video has been very, very educating to you. Bye bye.